Welcome to today's post on the blackvoterwatch.org. It's a new site that has been created by Lucas, the amazing Lucas on YouTube. And of course, it's a great tool for Black people to have to know who they're voting for because so many people, especially Black politicians who run, and a lot of times Black politicians get to stay in office for decades. Take John Lewis, for example. He's a good example of somebody who stayed in Congress for like 40 years. But how did his district benefit from him being in position for 40 years? What did he do? In 40 years. 40 years is a long time to be in Congress, but people love to talk about John Lewis and how long he was in Congress. But a lot of times Black people get in elected offices and they don't do anything that's going to benefit the people that voted them in because it's largely Black people. So it's like politicians can get elected, but you better not do anything that's going to benefit Black people. And if you go to certain areas, because the US is so segregated, that it's a Black area. Why is it not culturally diverse? That's because segregation still exists in the United States in 2026. Anytime a Black person can't live in any community that they want to live, because not only is it segregated, they're not basing the payment of rent on 1/3 of a person's income. If everything went by that, then there would be more diversity. But no, they're not about to have no Black people living wherever it is they want to live. I don't know why all of the hoopla about DEI with all the segregation that already exists in the US. Because even when civil rights bills have been passed, why do bills have to be passed to give Black people the right to vote if we're citizens? Why a bill got to be passed for Black folks to work wherever if they're how do you say if they are good enough to work there? Why do rules have to be put into place, laws, and then the laws aren't enforced? So you know that the system is still divided and is not fair. So all of these laws and bills and things that's passed, you got the Crown Act, you got this thing, you have to make a law for everything where Black people are concerned. That makes no sense. That's divisive. I think that's what it is that causes some people to feel like Black people are privileged. Every time you turn it around, they're creating a law for Black people to protect Black people. Yes, but there's no anti-Black hate crime law in place. Now, is there? The Asians got one, but you have people who still feel like Black people are getting too much. Who do they think they are? Every time you turn around, the blacks, the blacks, the blacks. And I heard that it was in 1985 when they started referring to Black people born in America as the blacks instead of African Americans. They wanted to do away with that term. There has never been a group of people where so many different words have been used to try to determine who and what they are. From slavery to Negroes, colored, Black, African American, now it's FBA and ADOS and whatever other word you can think of. And I understand why it's being done. I get it. I get it. But the Census Bureau, they're the ones that keep coming up with these different words to indicate a Black person born in America, which takes me to a book I started reading called The Betrayal of the Negro. How all of these presidents from Rutherford B. Hayes to, I believe it's Woodrow Wilson is who's listed on the cover of the book. And it talks about how they can't, the problem of what to do with the Black people that they had just, so-called ended slavery for, they didn't know what to do with them. It was so many people. It's like millions and millions of people. So they couldn't incorporate them into society, U.S. society, assimilate. That's the word, assimilation. So Europeans came in droves and droves and droves, 20th century. They were put there so that they would replace those black people who really didn't have nowhere to go, and that the U.S. government made a point of saying, we have got to figure out what to do with these people because there's too many of them for us to return, or where we're going to return them to. So the book was written in 1965. And it talks about how the presidents all, how, first of all, the slaves being freed, so to speak, created a serious problem for the U.S. because they couldn't send them back to wherever. The problem. That's the first chapter in the book. And the first sentence of the problem tells it all. The first sentence. So I'm going to read that first sentence from the book. Here it is. The problem of determining the place that Negroes should occupy in American life was the most difficult of the racial problems that confronted the American government and people after the Civil War. Right. And after that, it goes on to talk about the Chinese expulsion and how many people, was there that they did that for, and the Davis Act attempted to improve the plight of 260,000 Indians living on reservations. And all of that was done, but they couldn't do anything with black people. 4 million ex-slaves and 500,000 who had been free prior to the Civil War. The number was too large for either deportation or reservations to be a practical solution. So, ever since, every single president has been faced with that problem because they don't know what to do. They can't figure out. So for all of these years, what's been happening is, all of these political people in power, and nobody wants to address things that's really crucial to black people. Black people. How about just like decent housing and food and medical and education? One of the reasons I feel like they can't get it together with universal health care is because they are not trying to extend the life of all of these millions of black Americans that's still here in the US. That's why. Because to give health care would mean that you're giving some form of preventative health care, which would likely extend the life of people. They ain't trying to extend the life, not trying to, not even in the slightest way, trying to extend the lives of poor people and mainly poor black people. They don't care about any poor people, but specifically, it's the black issue that will not allow them to have basic, simple health care for every U.S. citizen. And of course, if they ever get around to it, it's got to be voted into law by Congress or whomever. And we can see that from the way things are going, that they are not trying to extend anybody's life, not by a mile. So, hats off to Amazing Lucas for coming up with this system to track politicians. But as I have said, if a politician is an APAC recipient, they automatically are not going to have the interests of their constituents at heart, because that means that they put that other country first. Yes. And according to the little hats, the biggest threat to them are the black youths. I've seen that video where they talked about that. So if they're considering black youths the enemy of that group, how is somebody who's accepting money from that group's lobby, going to have the best interests of black people at heart? It's not possible. So, the Black Vote Watch sounds good, but if you're not going to indicate whether or not they're APAC recipients, it seems like it's null and void because everything is determined by them. They're the one. And anytime somebody's elected, so-called elected for any type of political role, they get approached by the APAC people to say, hey, we need you to say such and such and such. If the person ain't strong, they say, no, I'm not joining no APAC. I'm not doing it. It's very few people who don't be on with APAC. Very few. Most people are. So if a person is in with them, but APAC recipient, that means they don't have the interests of their constituents at heart, and they don't really care. They just there for the money and so forth and so on. And this is what's been going on in politics. Nobody can do anything for Black people. They definitely can't say they're doing anything for Black people. Nevertheless, the blackvotewatch.org is a novel idea. But he's got to add more information. He's got to have APAC receipts. I've already commented on the video saying that, how you going to say Warnock in Georgia has an A? And I've gone into open secrets and I've seen how much money he's gotten from APAC. How does he have an A? That doesn't seem right. How's that possible? He's got an A rating. So I suggested to Lucas, and of course this is in the early stages of the program, of the novel idea, and perhaps he will add that in there, because if anybody's taking money from them, they can't possibly have the interests of the Black community at heart, even though their constituents are largely Black and their district includes all of those people. They do not care. So, yeah, I just think that that's some food for thought. And Black Vote Watch, I put the video of Lucas explaining it in the comments, and it is a great idea because Black people need to wake up when it comes to voting and the issues that Black people are standing on, and what it is that needs to be done. And from what I understand, it's like two major things: reparations and an anti-Black hate crime bill. If somebody's campaigning for any type of political office and they're not talking about two things, Black people are not interested. It's as simple as that. And they're always talking about Black people's vote being the swing vote. Why do Black people's vote have to always be the swing vote? And to me, that comes from the fact that they had to create a special law for Black people to be able to vote. And every time you turn around, the privilege to vote for Black people is under attack. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. This has been going on for decades and decades. And the redistricting of lines so that this one will get more representation and that one, always been going on. They are just wicked and diabolical, and they can't do anything right and fair. That's why there's so many laws. And then the laws don't get obeyed, and nothing good comes of it, and everything just keeps on being the same. So yeah, I said all that to say that the blackvotewatch.org, created by Amazing Lucas, is a great idea. Check it out.